This is Kate.
This is Nicole.
And this is One Moment, Please. Good morning, Nicole. How are you doing today?
Kate, I'm doing really good, actually. I know last time we spoke, you called me out. And
Did you see my cat's tail going for
yeah. I am actually doing good, and it's because like my Milo is with his dad. I just saw cat.
He was rubbing on it. I'm sorry. I was like,
that's so great. If you're not watching the YouTube video, are you even?
My cat's like trying to come over the screen and rub on it.
So funny. So Milo's with his dad this weekend, which it's been a couple months since he's been there. And so it's also the first time that I haven't had like an actual event on a weekend. So I feel like
$1 million.
Yes, like having a break and not having to like, it's just definitely, I needed that, and I needed space to also like get some things on my to-do list that I had a hard time focusing on doing. Like that was so great. How are you doing?
I'm good. Matt had surgery last week, so it's been a long week.
Yeah.
It's just been a long week.
A lot of no sleep days
and taking care of a 4-year-old by myself, which like I don't know how single moms do it because I'm exhausted and my husband's just in the other room.
Yeah. It's not easy.
Today we're going to talk about hiring photo booth attendants because a lot of y'all have asked about that, and Nicole and I both have experience with it. I've had attendants for a while. I think, Nicole, you recently added them.
Yeah, I've had them for about a month, and so far most of them have worked at least 2 events, some of them 4 or 5. They are this month going to be doing like events on their own. I'm a little bit of a helicopter parent in this regard, but yeah, we'll talk about all of that in future episodes too. But today we're going to just talk about kind of the hiring process, how we determined we needed to have help, and how we found our help. And even we're going to touch on some different ways that you can incorporate help in your business.
Other than photo booth attendants, right?
Exactly. So like assistants for your office or things like that. So it's going to be really good. I'm sure it's going to be jam-packed information. I hope it's really helpful. If you're considering or thinking that you need to hire, like hopefully this will help you either determine that yes, you do, or maybe you can wait and tough it out a little bit longer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a game changer, but also you are not bringing home as much, which we'll talk about that. But I think it's been a game changer for me personally in our business.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so one of the first questions you can ask yourself to help you determine if you need help is if you have a lot of heavy equipment and it's difficult for you to transport yourself. So all I had was a salsa booth, and it really like why I chose salsa was because it was easy to transport by myself, so I could handle it on my own. But I can't imagine like having a mirror booth or having a 360 and doing it on your own. I know people do it, but like you have a 360 now, and I know yours is ginormous, so it's pretty much impossible. I feel like answering that question of can you handle it by yourself, the equipment, yes or no, like that'll help you also determine.
Absolutely.
For sure.
So thankfully though, with like me and Matt, there's 2 of us.
Yeah.
So I've never we don't have to do things by ourselves often. However, with the salsa, we totally could. Absolutely no way with the 360.
Yeah.
Like we were not thinking straight when we ordered that. Like we were thinking, oh, we want the big one so like more people can fit on it.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, this thing is wider than a yardstick, like wider than your arm span, basically. So you have to have like 2 people. It's so heavy. So, anyways, yeah. Well, if you get the big 360, you will absolutely need 2 people.
Yeah.
And if you don't, just don't come at me for that because I'm weak.
Well, that's what's part of the reason why I wanted to hire 2 was because I was like, okay, like maybe 360 in the future, and then I will definitely need help in that case. So having that ready was something I was considering. So yeah.
I would like to talk on that too, but we can do that later.
Okay.
Like, yeah, because we got attendance whenever we only had salsa, but now we have a salsa, a 360, and the DSLR booth,
Yeah.
and thankfully we have attendance that we could like transfer, but I still don't feel comfortable doing that with them. Like it's a whole new ball game, so I still don't feel comfortable letting them go beyond the salsa.
Mm. So if you have heavy equipment and it's difficult for you to transport, then yeah, you're probably going to need help. The second question is, how many team members do you need to handle your current or future workload, and can you afford to pay them? So as of right now in your business, are you needing help? Like, do you need people? Can you handle it on your own? And looking in the future, do you have a lot of events that you know you're going to need help for? And then maybe you'll need to hire, but also consider once you hire them, if you have slow months, like for us in Florida, I don't know if it's the same with you, but like June, July are pretty slow. Will you,
Interesting.
yeah, will you be able to have and support those attendants? Will they be wanting to leave and get another job elsewhere? Like, so those are kind of things to consider when hiring.
So would you hire an attendant that has another job?
Yeah, unless obviously it would depend on their availability because like they would have to be available weekends in order to like for this to even work.
Do you require them to have every weekend available?
I don't.
Okay.
Do you?
No.
Yeah.
We have I think 7 attendants, so like hopefully one of them
Yeah.
is available. But I only ask because most of ours do have second jobs because like you said, it's not like we can't guarantee every single weekend is going to have a job for them.
Yeah.
So most of ours do have other jobs. However, because we pay more than their other jobs, they do put
Prefer.
they prefer ours over the other job.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I'll talk about like all of the ins and outs of my girls because I think it's really different.
Oh,
Um,
we have super different.
Yeah, we really do. So I can't wait to get into it. Okay, so the next question is, are you feeling overwhelmed with your current workload? If you are, then maybe it's time to get help. If you're feeling burnt out and feeling like you can't continue or don't want to continue, like, is this even worth it? Then maybe consider hiring help.
Even just like one weekend, like give
Yeah,
yourself a break because with photo booths, you are working the week too.
yeah,
More than likely, like if this is your full-time job, you're working the week. So give yourself a break. Hire someone at least for like once a month.
yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, that was my weekend last weekend. Like, I did 6 events, and after it, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, you did so many events last
I don't
week.
know.
Like every day I talked to you, you were like, I'm heading here. I'm heading
Like,
here.
I don't know if I can continue this. And thankfully, I had my girls there, but I was still kind of training them. And so I couldn't leave them just yet. But at least I know now if that were to happen again in the future, I could have them and be confident that they know what to do and they know how to operate it. So, yeah, take
Perfect.
care of yourself, understand your limits.
Or don't. Mo- most of us who own small businesses, we have zero
It's
boundaries
true.
whenever it comes to working.
Don't do what we're doing.
I actually saw Duo Photo Booth posted like, how are you taking care of yourself this week? And I commented and I was like, I'm not because I have zero boundaries.
That's true. We should talk about that in an episode, but we are going to take care of ourselves next month.
Yeah, next month we're going to the beach together to celebrate our birthdays.
That's going to be
And I'm
great.
so
I
excited.
know. That's going to be great. We're going to take care of ourselves in May. It's on the calendar, guys. Don't worry.
But we've also been like, okay, so while we're there, we need
I
to
know.
do X, X, and X.
We're going to work the whole time.
Yeah, but we'll be with each other, so maybe it won't feel like work.
Exactly. Okay, and then the last question is, this is a good one. Have you discovered that you lack certain skills that you feel like you need to continue the business? So, are you really, really bad at sales and having a hard time converting clients from inquiries to like actual bookings? Are you not good at customer service? Do you have no customer service experience? What are some other things?
Replying to emails, like
Yes.
the administrative work is a huge workload in itself.
Yes. If you really don't like replying to emails or you find yourself replying really late because you're procrastinating on it, like maybe that's then a position that you can hire a VA for, or an office assistant for, or something like that.
Are you one of those people who, like, if you see an inquiry come through, you're like,
Yes,
I gotta answer?
absolutely.
Okay, me
Yeah.
too. Like, I can't handle the like, oh, let me wait, because in my brain, I'm like, okay, but what if they like reach out to another company? Like, I want to be the first to have that good impression. So,
I
okay,
am 100% team, like, the faster you respond, the better.
the faster you respond, the better you convert. Usually, like
Absolutely.
people love whenever you are attentive.
The most frequent answer or response I get or comment I get is, "Wow, that was so fast. Thank you for getting back to me so quickly." And I mean, think about it from a customer side. Like, if you ask a question, you don't want to wait a whole 24 hours to get a response. You're going to
Correct.
be A, researching something else, or B, figuring it out on your own, or like, so it's just, I definitely
So yeah,
team respond as quick as possible. No, that's really great. I have a positive one. I don't have the not available one because typically I'm just like, I'll write that myself, but that's just because I need to not do that.
we have it, and then we also have like, oh, but we recommend
Mm.
X, X, and X.
Oh, I like that.
So,
You recommend another booth that's cool.
yes, because I want like they're reaching out for a
Yeah.
photo booth. If I'm not available, I want to be able to offer them something
Yeah.
else.
That's great.
And usually, like, people love when you help them. Like, they don't want to keep searching. So we already have like it on there. We recommend this. And on HoneyBook, we also have it like underlined and highlighted so they can actually just click it and go straight to their
Yeah.
website.
Oh, I love that. That's great. Great customer service, Kate. Thanks for
Thank you so
educating us
much.
in this community. Yeah. So it just, for that last question, like, it really needs, like, you need to be self-aware on your limits and be either on track to get better in those areas or be willing to hire out help.
Which can be scary because nobody wants to spend money.
Exactly. And have you ever looked into a VA, like virtual assistant?
We've talked about it. Like I'm not a helicopter parent whenever it comes to attendance, but I'm a helicopter parent in
And
that
client
way because
communication?
I feel like I have so much more
Yeah.
control over how I respond and my social media
Mm-hmm.
presence.
It's true.
So yes, but no, but
Well,
yes.
and there's so many avenues that inquiries are coming in or communication is coming in, like Instagram DMs, emails, very rarely, but like Facebook Messenger or like Facebook groups, like,
Hmm.
so it's just easier for me
I
to
don't
do it.
know.
Like, it's just
Yes, I agree. I agree. It would be super hard for me to say, okay, here's a
yeah.
VA because I would have so many expectations, and as a contracted worker, I can't really tell them
Mm-hmm.
what to do.
Yeah, we learned that this week, didn't we?
We did. Hard lesson.
Um, the one thing that I would say that I'm not good at is phone calls.
Never have I ever.
Yeah. Not good at that. So if there were to be any reason for me to hire, it would be to have somebody who would be willing to kind of make cold phone calls or do like outreach for sales.
I want to talk about that. Not
Yeah.
today, but I want to pick your brain about that because Matt really wants to do that. And I'm like, oh, but cold calling, like that is so MLM.
Yeah. Yes, I don't like it personally. And so from when it's just like self-limiting beliefs because I'm like, if I don't like it, then everyone doesn't like it. But that's not true. You know what I mean? Like,
Everyone is good at
yes, and
something.
there is something to be said about like reaching out, even if it's like a cold
Yes.
contact. Um, I've gotten plenty of bookings that way, so I know it works, and it just is like
Ugh,
uncomfortable. But
it's super
sometimes you just have to do it.
uncomfortable.
But anyways, conversation for another time. Okay, so let's talk
Yeah.
about finding attendance. How did we find our attendance?
Okay, I want for you to
Oh,
go
okay.
first. Oh, okay.
Okay, so when I thought about finding attendance, and even when I've interviewed some other people in the business, there have been a couple ways that they've found theirs, and so I want to talk about that a little bit first. But it's definitely, you have to be so careful and really so picky because whoever you hire is representing your business, and you have to look at the lens through that lens. I know in like my hiring procedure and like yours, it was very different in that I took my time and kind of had it in the back of my mind for a long time and was marinating on the idea. I didn't need them immediately, but I knew in the future, if I wanted my company to grow, I would need them. But then for you guys, I know you guys just exploded. So it wasn't a matter of like that you had no time.
I needed
Yeah,
bodies.
exactly. And so we'll dive into that in a second. But just keep in mind, like whenever you're looking for attendants, have a very, very clear picture of who you want to work for your business. Have an idea of what you want them to look like, how they want you to represent your company, and think about that first. So
It's almost like building a client. Like we talked about
ideal
that.
client,
So,
ideal attendant for sure.
yeah.
And then, so in a lot of conversations that I've had, the very first place that a lot of people kind of look, which is very natural, is your immediate circle. So friends, family members. For me, though, like that wasn't an option. Like everyone around me in my circle is very, very busy and has their own lives and isn't able to help. So that wasn't an option. And was that an option for you? Like family or friends?
I mean, I asked, but at the same time, like I didn't want them. Like you're not supposed to work with, like don't mix
Yeah.
friends or don't mix business and family. So yes and
I think
no.
that's very, very tricky because yeah, I've talked to a lot of people who have done it really well. Like they have cousins and uncles who really like help them. They're on their side. They're really trustworthy. I do think it can get very tricky to involve friends and family because if you ever have to bring any type of like correction or disciplinary action because they maybe didn't follow the guidelines or did something, took creative liberties on something when you have a very specific vision in mind, that can be very difficult. And oh yeah,
I've
yeah,
been there. It happened once and it didn't last long, but the friendship is still there,
yeah.
thankfully.
So friends, family, they could be great options if you have that opportunity to have that. But
And if you're really good at setting boundaries, like they also have to respect that this is your job and career and vice versa. Like it's just tricky. And if it works for you, that's
yeah,
awesome.
so just know that's an option. Okay, so my hiring process. All right, so I started by posting like a little infographic on my Instagram. Wasn't sure if it would work, but I did it on my On the Moment booth page because I knew my clients are there. And hopefully, at least if they were there, they would see it and maybe tell a friend or something who was looking. On that post, I kind of shared briefly like some of my main requirements. So I don't think I put age, but they needed to be able to lift heavy things. They needed to have a car, and they needed to like send in an email with resume and stuff like that. Did not get any response from there. I had one client that said, "Oh, I might be interested in this." Never heard from him again.
Love that.
I went onto my local Facebook group, like the moms group here locally, put an ad there, got some response, but just didn't think it was a right fit. And like, what does that mean, Nicole? I don't know. I can't. Yeah.
Ideal client, and I know what you
Yeah.
mean. I
And
understand.
so it was like a mom was saying that her teenage son would be available. And I was like, I really was looking for something else. And so, anyways, didn't really find great leads there. Then I went to the local photographer page.
I've never
Yeah.
thought of that before.
So because like they have an understanding of lighting, they have an understanding of all of that kind of stuff and posing too. Like they're great for posing stuff. So looked there. I think I got a couple like the response was, I might be interested. And I'm like, I don't want you to might be interested. I want you to be like really wanting it. I want the people who work with me like really love the job too. So because that
Okay, I'm also taking notes. So like if you see me looking down, that's why.
So, yeah, I mean, I want people to want to work with me and want to work on the business and be excited about it. I don't want to be forcing anybody. Like that's not nobody likes that because that overflows into the client experience. So no. Then here's a good one. I had a friend tell me, because I reached out to her because she worked in human resources in this big company. I was like, hey, do you know of anybody? Like any, I asked even about her sister because her sister worked for Disney. I was like, is she available on weekends? Like, I would love to
How
have her. Like,
fun.
that would, a Disney employee would be perfect for my job.
Yes.
Um, and she said she was too busy and that she didn't really know anyone else. And I was like, okay, that's fine. But then she told me that there was this large church by her that has a like directory, like a job directory and a job posting place. And she's like, that might be a good option. And I was like, okay, like so, you could probably get some college kids there or some young adults. And I'm like, that might work. So put a listing there with a link to a Google form. The Google form had all of the questions that I was needing answered. So, are you able to travel? Can you lift 65 pounds? Do you have a valid driver's license and a vehicle that can fit large equipment? I think that was like the main things. And then I think even asked about like, are you comfortable wearing like black tie or like fancy like clothes? And do you have social media? Are you good with social media? Like, do you have an understanding of that? And so I asked them to answer all of those questions, and then at the bottom I said, "Thank you for your interest. Please email me at my email with a resume and 2 references that I can call."
Okay, we did this like the exact same
Really?
way.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Like at least
Yeah.
our Google form.
And so I got 6 responses from that listing. I got one person to email me, and that person did not leave their resume or references.
What?
So that was a dud. Unfortunately, I was really hopeful. I was like, "Oh, 6 people, this is great." No, they couldn't follow very simple directions, which is such a bummer. But good for me that I didn't really kind of waste my time and their time in taking the process of even further, because if they can't read very simple instructions, I can't trust them to be able to provide the experience that we have set for our company. So yeah. Okay. And then found my winner. Ready? So last resort, I was looking at my calendar. I was like, okay, I need to figure this out. Like, how can I do this? So I reached out to my babysitter. And this was a girl that I found on care.com. And honestly, I'm not even going to lie to you. When I looked for a babysitter, in my mind, I was thinking I would love to have babysitters be my attendants because they are on time. People trust them with their kids. So if I can trust you with my kid, I can probably trust you with my photo booth. And you have the opportunity to do a background check on them. And they typically always have a reliable vehicle because you need to trust that they're going to be able to transport your kid to or from, school or whatever. So babysitters kind of check all of those boxes. And they're typically also available on weekends because that's when a lot of parents need childcare, is Fridays night, Saturday night, Sunday night. So it's pretty perfect. Go ahead.
Do y'all have a babysitters Facebook group where you live?
I don't.
Okay, so we have one, and I just wrote that down because like I'm on there, and it's usually all of the college like sorority girls, and I've hired so many of them. So now, Nicole, I'm going to go do that whenever we get off of here.
I need to go back and look for more, but yeah, so reached out to my babysitter. She babysat Milo one time and she was great. On time, did so well with Milo. Like, I felt so good. I'm very, very, very like very safe with him and don't really trust him with a lot of people, and blame it on the trauma, whatever, but
I 100% understand.
but so I hired her. She did great. And I reached out to her, and I really honestly didn't think she would say that she would be interested. I kind of was just like, I need to just at least try. And she replied that she was very interested. And then she responded and said, actually, like, all of my roommates are also interested.
Bingo. You're all hired.
And then she said, and our friend who goes to the same school as us is also interested. So I got 4 girls with that one connection. They are all like not only college students, but in their doctorate programs for forensic psychology. They're so smart, so responsible, and they're doing whatever they can to like make money on the weekends because they are in school, like dedicated in school during the week.
About to hit up allofthecare.com.
Right. So that was such a huge win. I will say the only negative side to that is that school is a priority. So anytime there's exam week or kind of breaks from school, they go home, or they and home is not here. Home is like New York and
Yep.
Texas or wherever. So that's been tricky, and all of them are like, the one weekend I wanted them to cover a shift was the week of Milo's birthday, and they all have an exam the next week, and so they all said no, and I was like, no.
I understand. I've been there
So
too.
yeah, so that's kind of like, there are positives and negatives to hiring kind of college students.
And especially friend groups.
Yes, exactly. So it's been great because they can, when I hire 2 of them, because I'll always have like 2 attendants for an event, they can get rides together. They can, go in the same car and share the gas and all of that. So that's really, really great. Or like communicate with one another if they can't do a shift that they agreed to, like they can communicate and say, hey, can you pick this up for me or whatever. So
Do
love
you
it.
do you use a scheduling app, or do you just communicate? Or like, how do you do that?
I have a Google spreadsheet that I created.
We have that too, but then it
Yeah.
got super tricky for me, and we use this thing called Connect Team, and
Mm.
it's free if you want to check it out.
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay.
It's also an app, so they literally just download it on their phone. They get a notification when a shift is assigned, and you can also put up like a shift for grabs, and they can
Mm.
claim it. That's been really helpful for us.
Yeah. I don't I had them like write out their availability, but I'm like, even then it's like
It's
I
still
can't
tricky.
guarantee it. It is still tricky. Like I still, if I get another inquiry on a date that I'm already booked, I'm still like waiting for them to text me back to tell them that they're actually available,
Yep,
because
we do
if I
that
have
too.
yeah, if I haven't booked them, then it's possible they could have picked up a babysitting job in the meantime and just forgot to update the calendar. So it's just that part of it can get tricky, especially when I want to respond to my clients immediately.
Do you have a group text with the girls?
I do. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We do the spreadsheet, and I literally will text out like a month in advance, hey, this is all of the dates we have available.
Yeah.
Respond to me which ones you can work.
Yeah.
And so like I can't guarantee that they'll get that date, but I do really good about pairing our people. Like
Yeah.
we could talk about that later,
Oh my
but
gosh, yeah. I'm like, I can go on a whole tangent. I'm like, I'm learning about them so much as I'm training them, and I'm like, okay, you won't work well with this person, and you will work great with this person, or like, yeah. So
it's very interesting to watch everybody's personalities and dynamics unfold, especially as a boss. Like it's our job to make sure they thrive.
yeah,
So we have to like give them the opportunity to thrive. Anyways.
exactly. Okay, so that is my story. I would love to hear yours.
Okay, well, I'm not as organized as you. We always talk about that. So, um Matt and we double booked ourselves. Like we had like 5 months, and we were like, okay, we're going to buy another photo booth. So let's just go ahead and double book. And then I was like, oh, well, I have to shoot a wedding that day because I was still photographing weddings at that time.
Oh
So we were
no.
like, okay, we have to hire attendants like yesterday. So January rolls around and we're like, okay, but we really have to hire attendants. And so then February rolls around and this event's in March. And we were like, okay, but like really, like we have to. We can't keep putting it on the back burner. So I do what you do. I make this infographic, basically just post it on Instagram, post it on Facebook. My friends and family share it. And I got one response. I didn't care. I was like, hired, boom.
Yeah.
Like, I need a body. And I had her come in for an interview still. She was a mom. She was a single mom. She was 20 and amazing. Like, I don't know how I got lucky, honestly. Hired her. She was super sweet. She already had another job. And I was like, okay, like on the spot, you're hired. I need you. This is how much you can get
Yeah.
paid. This is how much training is. This is how much events do. We do, I don't know if you do this, but we pay minimum wage for training because I have noticed people sometimes don't stay after training.
Mm.
So I don't want to like go whole hog in and offer what we pay whenever we're just training.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, she did wonderful. And then we got another person interested, and I immediately hired her on the spot too. So all of this to say, like, I was just like, I don't care who applies at this point. I need bodies.
And so this was from the Instagram?
This was from one of them was from Instagram, and one of them was from Facebook.
Okay.
So I posted one on Facebook, and Matt's aunt shared it, and her previous student was the one who
Oh, that's great.
inquired. So I felt really comfortable. I should have said that. I felt really comfortable hiring her. Matt's aunt vouched for her. She was seriously wonderful.
Oh yeah, a reference. That's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the other girl who applied, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and say her name because I talk about her all the time to you. It's Olivia.
Olivia.
And I love her. And if she's listening, I hope she knows. I don't know how I got lucky. Like, she was the second person who applied, and I was like, sure, come in for an interview. She was so interested, like asked so many questions, and which is amazing. Like, usually people who you interview don't ask questions. Like, she wanted to know everything right then. She was like, okay, how do I do this? And it was just like, it felt really good. And I was like, okay, wow, we are on a hot streak for people right now. Hired her. And then we told them all, like, okay, we need more bodies.
Yeah.
Because we ended up triple booking and quadruple booking. So again, I just posted it out. Nobody responded, but I had my girls send out feelers, and thankfully like 3 of her friends applied.
Wow.
So all of mine came from one from Instagram, one from Facebook, and then my other 3 attendants were all from her saying, hey, I have this job, come apply.
That's great.
Interviewed them, didn't care again. Like, I was like, you're hired, you're hired, you're hired. Trained them all, and I wish that I had thought it out methodically like you did. Like, it was literally, Nicole, like
you needed it.
I just needed bodies.
I get it.
I didn't care too much at the time, which has hurt us in the long run. I'm trying to think, like, what else do you want me to say? Like, I'm like,
no, that's great.
I wish that I had a big explanation like you did, but I'm over here taking notes on how you found yours.
No, this is great.
We need more, because like you, like, we live in a college town, so all of our kids go back to either Dallas or Kansas City or far away. I have 2 girls going to Belize this summer for an internship, and I'm like, oh, guys, you're killing me.
Well, yeah, and looking into the future, and I'm like, Christmas, I'm like, I'm really evaluating how I want to run my business and how many people I'm going to need. I'm like, I'm still on the fence about 360s and if that's going to be something that will be a drain on my company or more beneficial.
So last Christmas, it was wild.
Yeah.
But none of them were 360 events. Not even one.
Did you have your 360 by then?
I did.
Wow.
And I was like, I had offered it and everything, but most of them were companies and they had a budget. So most of them did drop-off booths, which like I was fine with because it was like 4 drop-off booths in a day.
Yeah.
So depending on what your price is, that could be, $2,000 in a day.
Yeah.
So
that's what I'm kind of saying. I'm like, in considering Christmas, I'm like, okay, either I do need to go like the drop-off route, or I'm going to be needing to hire a ton of attendants. But then the question is, how are my companies going to be able to afford my attendant price when they have the drop-off price? And
so I even had my attendants do drop-off booths.
Yeah.
Like, I just paid them because I was like, I can't be in 4 places at once. I don't know if you've ever seen Harry Potter, but like Hermione has this little time thingy and she's like able to be in multiple places at once. I'm like, I need one of those.
All right.
So I still paid my attendants and I was like, I need for you guys to go set up a booth, but I only did one. I didn't do 2.
Yeah.
I only had one person do a drop-off booth because it's way easier, like, to set up wise.
Well, and I'm found at least the ones I had, my corporate clients, they all wanted prints. And so I can't I'm like,
We have such different markets. It's
yes. Well,
crazy.
and what's wild is like this month I did a ton of events, but like most of them were digital. But then all of them for Christmas last year, all of my corporate clients wanted prints and paid for prints. And so I'm like, that's me. Because training someone on using the printer, it's so like finicky. It's so like
Yeah.
you really have to know it. You really have to know how to troubleshoot it because it will happen. Like it just will every time. And so trying to train someone on how to do that. Like I have two print events at the end of the month. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm bringing my girls in. I'm going to do like intensive training on this is how I set up the printer. This is how like you do it now. Like let me watch you do it. And
Yes, it's like it's so much more than just hiring someone and hoping for the
yeah.
best because there's a lot that goes on, and I learned
Yeah.
that I'm glad that you did your due diligence and like vetted everyone first.
Well, I mean, like this month, my girls are doing next weekend, they're doing their very first digital photo booth on their own. And I was with the girl and I had her last week. Like, we'll talk about training in another time,
Okay, okay,
but
okay.
like, anyways, I told her at the last event I was with her, I was like, I want you to lead this entire thing. And then I just literally stood there and watched, and she did such a good job. So I was like, I feel so much better now about her completely handling the event next weekend. And then she's also going to be a part of the print event at the end of the month. I was like, I feel good. I feel confident that we can make it work. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
That's good.
yes, I would love to talk about this forever with you, of course, but I feel like we pretty much covered the basics of like when to establish, when it's time to hire, and kind of the options and finding attendants. I'm trying to think if there's other. I mean, I think like word of mouth and like personal recommendations are going to be your best bet.
Once you have an attendant, it's been really, really helpful to say, hey, we're still looking for people. Can you let your
Please
friends
let your
know?
friends know. Yeah.
And then the only downside of that is, like I said earlier, like if they're in the same friend group, sometimes weekends are hard for them, especially if we live in a college town. Football season is a no
Oh
go.
no. Yeah. Oh boy. I bet.
So,
Okay. So the last topic we're going to talk about today is hiring people for your team that are not photo booth attendants. And Kate, I would love to give you the floor so you can talk all about it.
okay. So we actually hired a social media girl last January,
Before
and I had,
can I ask you a question?
yeah,
Okay,
I'm
no,
sorry.
don't be sorry. I interrupted you, but I want to ask this question because I want to know how you determined, like, what prompted you to say, I need to hire a social media manager?
I
Was
don't
it
know.
like, were you feeling overwhelmed with it? Like, was this something like,
It was more of like it was Christmas time, and I was looking forward at our calendar, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, 2022 is
hmm,
wild. There's no way I can do this on my own." So my brain was like, the only thing that I can think of to help me is somebody who helps me with social media, because I didn't want to give up any other part of my business at the
yeah,
time. So that's whenever I was like, "Okay, it's time to hire someone because I can't do this on my own. I don't want to spend the time doing social media
hmm,
anymore. I can invest in my business other ways." So that led to me putting out, I'm looking for an intern, basically. Like I wanted like maybe a graphic design student or something, because we do live in a college town, to apply and learn and teach me and me
hmm,
teach them, and be like, hey, this is how small businesses kind of run. It's not corporate. It's literally like you just do it. Like it's a go, like you are, I have every position. I am everything. I'm the CEO, I'm the graphic designer, I'm the sales pitch person. Anyways, so I had quite a few people apply, but I ended up hiring someone that I'd worked with before. And she was with us for 9 months. And it was a strange thing because I ended up having to teach her
hmm.
everything, which, like, that was okay. That was fine. But it still took time away. Like, it wasn't
Defeated the
kind of what
purpose.
I,
Yeah.
yes. After that, like after I hired her specifically for that, we kind of like transitioned her as the time went along, because we saw, okay, maybe that's not the best fit.
Hmm,
So let's start giving away other pieces of our business and see if she can help this
hmm.
way. Um, I mean, we taught her a lot. We taught her about like keyword research. There was so much that she learned, and we ended up, instead of just being an intern, we ended up hiring her and paying her. And so then we ended up switching offices and moving locations. And to be totally honest, our rent had gone
Yeah.
up, so like I couldn't really afford for her, like, to have her every, like, as much as we had her
Mhm.
anymore. So I ended up having to like take back a part of our business and refiguring that out. And with that, we found there's so many other ways that I need help or Matt needs help in our business. And so we kind of asked one of our attendants, hey, are you good at doing this, or do you want to do this, or do you want more hours? And that led into something really, really great, which that could have backfired really bad. But so what she lets us do is she tells us, hey, I'm available this time this week. Do you need me? And I'm like, yes, can you come in? And, we moved offices. We hadn't unpacked for the last 4 months. And she unpacked everything. She organized everything, and it made like the office feel so much better. Like I didn't have to do
Yeah.
that. And so then I had her take all of our corporate emails and make a spreadsheet. So like, while I didn't have anybody hired at the moment, I really needed this help done
Mhm.
still, and I didn't have enough hands or time. So I reached into our pocket of employees that we already have and our contracted workers that we already
Yeah.
have, and had her just come and work when she could. Otherwise, like like there's so many things on my list, and I know on your list, that like we want to
Yeah.
get done, but it's daunting, and we don't think it will help move our business as quickly as like other things would. So that's what I had her come and
Mhm.
do.
I have something on my this is so funny, but it's so true. Like there's little things that you kind of like let go, like, oh, I'll get to it when I can get to it, or like little organizational things that you can do that will help you tremendously, but just finding the time to do it, it's just not priority. Like, for example, for
Yes.
me, for my Canva is a disaster. My Canva is so unorganized, and I'm constantly scrolling to find like a photo of a backdrop, or like find like images that I use often, or find my logo. And it would just take a little bit of time. But I'm like, no, that's time I can spend doing something else. So if I could have somebody to come in and organize my Canva into folders, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that's funny you mentioned that. I actually did that last week. I was like, okay, this Canva is getting incredibly overwhelming. So yeah, I definitely agree. Oh, I'm going to circle back to the return on
Yes.
investment. So the return on investment for hiring a social media manager, at the moment, it felt decent. Like I was happy with it. I felt like, okay, we're cranking out content often. One thing I noticed though is there wasn't a lot of engagement. So I was trying to figure that out. Like there was so much that I was trying to figure out at the same time that I wanted her to
Yeah.
figure out. So it felt like my return on investment was not equaling the amount of effort and work that I was still having to do. Um, so with that being said, is maybe hiring a social media manager, have like a list of expectations, or even like I ended up pulling articles and links and saying, okay, this is what I need for you to read while you're at work. Like I need for you to learn these, and then I need for you to tell me what you
Hmm.
learned after you read it. So I know that she understood it. As the time went on, I felt like my return on investment just got lower and lower and lower. And then once we moved and had to let her go, even Nicole, you reached out to me and you're like, hey, like I've noticed since you've been on here more, like it's been more
Hmm.
personal, like you kind of learned about me. And I did find that whenever I kind of took back our social media, there was more engagement. There was more people reaching out and talking to me because they knew that they were talking to like the person who
Yep.
ran the business, if that
Hmm.
makes sense. Um, so I felt like that was important for me to know, like, okay, maybe social media wasn't the one I should have hired for. And I'm not saying that's not what other people should hire for, but my personal brand, my return on investment was not high enough to contract out that work.
So I'm like, I'm sure people are thinking like, how would you track like that kind of ROI? And you do that by mentioned it by engagement. And so there are key performance indicators, KPIs. You'll hear that often in like any kind of Instagram marketing messaging. But one of those, the best ones for Instagram and kind of determining your ROI is going to be, are you converting clients? And if you're not, then maybe that's saying that, okay, this isn't the best fit. Or engagement. Has your engagement increased every single month, every single quarter? Then maybe that is a great
We
fit.
did track it. Like we
Yeah.
actually had a Google sheet, whatever they're called,
And you're
with the
noticing
graphs.
it went down.
It would go down and then it would stay the same.
Yeah.
We would occasionally get like an uptick whenever a reel decided to do great.
Yeah.
But it was very, there was just no growth.
Mhm.
And so it was great to have that to see as well. Like if you are looking at Instagram, you can hit your insights
Mhm.
and see too, which that's really been really helpful. And even after I started doing it again and I would click my insights, I would know, like I would notice that the engagement went up
Yeah.
or things like that. So all of that to say, if you are hiring someone that you have like a measurable thing to see, is it working?
Yeah.
Definitely notice that. Don't just hire someone willy-nilly and like hope
Yes.
for the best. Because I've done that in every single aspect of hiring in our business.
And there are some things that you can't measure, right? Like you could, but like even your office assistant, like the measure of success there is like an offload of pressure and stress on you personally. Like now you don't have to worry about that. That's taken care of. And the possibility of her being able to get all those corporate clients on a spreadsheet, get those emails, like that's increased revenue or increased potential in the future. So that's huge. I feel like that is way more valuable than what Instagram would be, because Instagram, I get so excited about this topic because Instagram is so personal and it's very difficult to, especially in our service industry where it is so customer oriented. We're not selling a product, we're selling a service. And that service is very interaction based. It's very personal. It's one of the most important days of people's lives. So having that one-on-one personal connection is huge. And one of the best ways that you can do that is through social media. And one of the best ways you can do that is by being present and showing up on social media yourself. So I would highly recommend, if you're not comfortable with social media, first of all, we're working on resources for you, my friend. Don't worry, we've got you. But second of all, really just kind of practice it, put yourself out there, try new things, learn as much as you can, and show up, because that kind of personal engagement where people get to know who you are and what business you're running is going to be the best return for yourself. And you don't have to hire anyone to do that. You just turn your phone on and show up.
It's been great.
Yeah.
Man, yeah. I wish that I could just really like take a picture and show them and be like, look, like this is what happened whenever we decided to show up more.
Yeah.
So, but I feel like we have talked about Instagram so much. Like I know that good things are coming out with that from us soon. But I want to circle back and say personally, maybe a VA would have been a good way to go. But if you feel overwhelmed, I really like the random office assistant thing personally, just because I would have a list for her. She would come in and she would do it. And it was just, I don't know. Like, I think I just got lucky with her because she would just do it and she wouldn't ask questions. She would just do it. And she knew what I expected because she's been with us over a year.
That's great. So it's little golden nugget. Yeah.
If you get an employee and you can retain them that long, like you will feel so good because you guys know how to work together at that point.
That's so true. So before we close, I wanted to share some of our basic requirements, and I think we're on the same page with some of the requirements. So if you have a notebook and a pen, here are some things that I definitely think that you should have on your ad. First of all, is age important to you? And I'll say this and then I would love to hear your response actually, Kate. Is it important for you to have attendants that are 18 and over, 21 and over? Do you hire teenagers? And then with that, are you okay with any kind of, if you have a 16-year-old working your booth, how does that work for your insurance and liability, first of all? Second of all, most of the time, if they're working weddings, there's going to be an open bar and alcohol freely served. Is that okay with you? Is there liability there? So I would love to hear your thoughts.
So we will hire, if you work with us, you have to be at least 18 or
Yeah.
older. I would love to hire younger kids, but I don't really know about like insurance and all of that. And most parents don't want their children to be contracted
Yeah.
workers, which we can talk about that whole thing later on. And yes, most weddings that we are at have open bars. They don't card. We hire 18 and up, and for events that we know will have alcohol, we try to put our 21 and over kids there. Sometimes it doesn't work, but they know the
Yeah.
rules.
We're very much looking into providing you guys with a handbook with these expectations as well. We're talking with our accountants right now to make sure that we have all of the legal safety and clarity, because as I was researching this topic and researching what can go into a handbook, like it was glaringly obvious that there were some gray areas that I was unsure if I even had my girls designated correctly, and if they were actually like W-2 employees and not 1099 employees.
Hmm.
So just to be
It's so
just to
gray.
be super transparent right now, like we fully intended this entire podcast episode to include a handbook and all of our policies and procedures. And as I was researching, I was like, wait a second, like I actually am not really clear on this. So it's coming. Hopefully, we're trying to get some clarity with our accountant. And so, just another reminder, if you don't have an accountant, if you don't have a lawyer, please take the time to find one that you can trust, find one that you can familiarize with your business, because guarantee you're going to need it. And yeah,
Absolutely.
you absolutely have to have that.
Like you and I both emailed our accountants this week and we're like, hey, we have
Yeah.
employees that we currently
Yeah.
1099, but we're reading and maybe they should be W-2, but they also don't fit all the
Yeah.
criteria. So is it a 1099 or is it a W-2? I mean, like, I'm not scared because I know that like it will be corrected, but I'm very anxious. Like, I want them
I
to get
want the
back with me
answer
and
right
tell
now.
me.
Yeah, yeah. It sucks to have any gray area in your business. So yeah, I'm just super anxious as well. But okay.
Like, yeah,
Yeah, so
sorry. We
yeah.
digress. Also, I love that word so much.
Take a shot for every time you hear that diagram. Of water, guys, of water.
Coffee.
Okay, so we talked about age. Age will vary according to your business model and the kind of events that you do. Like, but just know that you're probably going to need to ask for an age and have an age established. Driving ability. Do you need them to drive? If they, yes.
100%.
What kind of vehicle do they need to have? Does it need to be a large vehicle? Do you have a 360 booth? Like you're gonna need a large vehicle. Can they do that? Can they transport it? If not, probably not a good fit. Like you're probably gonna have to provide a vehicle. Then that's a whole nother thing. So
Yeah, we've actually looked into that. Like, do we need to get extra insurance to let our kids drive our van? We've just decided not to let them drive our van, but we've also told them like if we have a flower wall, you're gonna like both of y'all are gonna have to pick up
yep,
equipment because there's so much that goes with the flower
exactly.
wall.
Oh
So
yeah. So driving ability, valid driver's license, and then also like vehicle type, what kind would need. And then
your note says if they only have a Vespa, that really won't
right?
work out for
If you have a
you.
motorcycle, this isn't the right job for you. Like we're not gonna be helpful for each other here.
You might be able to fit the props in your saddlebag.
Oh my God. I was just about to tell you the story of this TikTok, but we do not have time today for that
Okay,
nonsense.
okay.
Okay, next is gonna be ability to lift a certain amount of weight. If you can't physically lift 65 pounds by yourself,
Or
yeah, or
whatever,
even
like if you have,
bigger,
yeah.
wide, whatever, like you do need to be able to lift that. Like if you have back problems, this is not gonna be a good job for you. Like we don't want you to get hurt. Like we don't want anyone to lift more than they're able to. So yeah, consider that for sure. And then next is gonna be customer service skills. This is a very like customer service position. You have to be friendly, you have to be engaging. Most of the time, if you're an active attendant, you're going to be telling people how to pose and telling them their awesome and they're amazing and, you know, like giving them the best possible experience. And so having good customer facing presence is important.
And the ability to be
Yes.
assertive. Like, that's something I have found. Like, some of our tenants are very timid. I'm like, like, you are the
Yeah.
boss. Like, it's okay. Say, hey, excuse me, I need to grab X and X. I mean, obviously be nice, but customer service and being able to assert
Yes.
yourself.
Especially like, it's so funny now that you're saying that, like I for sure determined like, okay, this girl needs to be paired with this girl because she isn't assertive and I need to have at least one person who is, because you will for sure encounter times. I mean, we both have these stories of drunk men who just lose all inhibition and aren't able to kind of control their actions. And sometimes you just need to treat them very firmly and say, nope, you cannot touch that. Or, oops, let's not lean against the backdrop. Or, oops, it's time to go. We have a line. Like you.
Or, hey, nope, we don't put our drink here. And then you move it over there. Like, it's okay. Like, it's your equipment. So yes, you have to be assertive in this position.
Sure. And then appearance. So do you require black tie for all of your events? Really kind of communicating the presence that you want your attendants to have when they are representing your company, your brand. You know, do you care if they wear a t-shirt? Do you care if they wear jeans? Like, it's just very important to consider all of this and be very upfront in that communication when you're putting that position out there that they are going to be required to XYZ.
You and I have very, very different views on appearance as well. I do want to ask, whenever you set up the booth, are you also wearing your formal? Oh my gosh.
I don't have time
so
to change.
Really? Okay. So we did that. But then we stopped because we noticed where we live, everybody setting up would wear
T-shirt or
workout clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even the planners were like, y'all don't have to wear that. Like, y'all can.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Like, it made our lives easier. So setup, we don't require.
The only, like, the reason why I don't was like a time and like I'm by myself running my events for the most part. But which is gross, right? Like a sweaty mess, but so you got perfume and deodorant.
Y'all got that Bath and Body
but
Works
like
spray?
I would be mortified if any guests came. And that's the thing. It's like sometimes I'm setting up while guests are in the room. And so, yeah, for sure, I'm not going to be wearing a t-shirt and leggings.
Well, I feel like you have to read the situation.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. So depending on your situation and the day, like whatever you're doing, like, yeah, wear accordingly.
For corporate events, I'm obviously going to not show up in like a Lululemon skirt.
Yes. Right.
But yeah, I know that you have a very, very specific attire. Like, you can't wear anything else. This is what you wear. Mine, I give a little bit more freedom in the sense of like, okay, you can wear business casual, or this is a black tie wedding. And most of the time my guys dress great. It's my girls that I have to worry about. And I've made a few of them, like, they know, like, text me a picture beforehand. They know, like, no crop tops, no belly button rings, no shoulders. But we've had to definitely address sometimes.
Yeah. No, and we'll definitely talk. We'll have a whole separate podcast episode where hopefully we'll hear back positively from our accountants and be able to kind of move forward with a handbook. But we definitely will have a whole podcast where we walk through kind of everything that's in our personal handbooks and go through each thing in detail.
And I can't wait because it's incredible how different Nicole and I are.
Yeah. All of it. Yeah. So
but I mean, I feel like people could even look on our Instagram and be like, oh, okay, like all of that makes sense for each of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways.
Yeah. So that is coming. We wanted to have it available now. We couldn't. I want you guys to all understand, like, we take this very, very, very seriously. And we would not put anything out there available to you guys that we didn't totally believe in or didn't feel like was completely vetted and complete. And so it's coming. Please be patient. We would love
We
to give
work
you
hard.
yes.
We research everything. We never want to say like, "Oh, this is what it is," and just like believe in it blindly.
Yeah.
So we hope that you guys appreciate that because we've learned a lot on this road too. Like
Oh my,
Nicole and I have learned so
constantly,
much.
constantly. And there's even like this week, like with this experience and this handbook whole thing and gray area, I was like, thank God I was researching for this because I would not have known this. Like there's so much that you learn as a entrepreneur and a small business owner that you kind of just learn as you go. And I'm so grateful that we were kind of forced into this research because it's just, I wouldn't have known otherwise.
It's helped our business grow too, like our knowledge of our business.
For sure.
So, anyways,
that is it. That's all we got for you today. It's a real long episode. But I hope it's been really helpful in helping you determine if you need to hire, and then how you can go about finding really, really good attendants.
and if you've hired before, can you share with us, guys who are listening, how you found your employees? Like, I would also love to know because I took notes on what Nicole said. So I want to know how else y'all are finding your employees.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or contracted workers, whatever you want to call them. So we also have in the shop, we have available for you our Instagram templates that will come in Instagram size as well as story size for would you call it an ad or like a posting of, hey, I'm hiring.
Yeah, job posting. Yeah.
So we will have those in the shop ready for you guys. All you have to do is purchase them, download them. There's going to be multiple different designs. Just add in your branding and post them, and you're ready to go to sell, or not to sell, to hire your attendants, hopefully.
Yeah. And
I hope y'all are ready to hire attendants.
Right? And what's great about it is like it's really attractive looking and professional looking. So it'll be really easy plug and play to incorporate your colors, incorporate your branding, and get people who would be interested in the position.
I hope that you guys have enjoyed today's episode and it's really given you some food for thought about if it's time to hire employees or not. You can find us on Instagram at onemomentplease.podcast, and you can email us at onemomentpleasepodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on YouTube now, and Nicole has been working really hard on those. I'll post the link in our bio of this as well. And I think that's all for now. We also have a Pinterest if you want to find us on Pinterest now. So anyways, thank you guys for listening. This is Kate.
This is Nicole.
And you're listening to One Moment, Please.
Bye-bye.
Adios.